We thought it would be kind of a good idea to just show you a little bit of how the muscles run on the body. These are going to be the very superficial muscles, and I'm going to draw them out for you. These are the muscles that you palpate. The muscles underneath you can somewhat feel, but you have to do different techniquing to get down and really feel what's going on underneath. But for just general purposes, and for what many of you are going to be doing, you want to get an idea of how these muscles work. So we have the trapezius muscle, which is a triangular muscle, which runs primarily, and this is going to be, it's just going to be basically how it is. It's going to be feeling different, but it's a triangular muscle that's coming like so. Ending down there. Might be broadened out a little bit more. It's hard to, it goes about here. There's the infraspinatus muscle that's going to be running. This attaches a little more into the here, primarily. I'm not really an artist. And then you have some infraspinatus muscle running along the scapula here. And there's teres major and minor along here. So those are the three different muscle groups that you'll feel along here underneath the scapula. The scapula is right here, running around and up. So here's the scapula where you're attaching things to. It seems like it moves underneath you. There's more of where the scapula is in this position, so erase that. So this has some muscles that are over the top of it. The deltoid is running here. And the trapezius does run up into the neck. So roughly, this is probably not a very good diagram, but you get an idea where things are. And the fibers will run this way on the trapezius muscles coming down this direction. It'll run like that. Then you have the latissimus dorsi muscle. That's the big one here that's coming along. It seems like this isn't working. So you have this as attached in here, and the latissimus dorsi muscle is going to run up in this direction that you feel so much. There's a lot of fiber into that muscle as well. Underneath that, there's other structures, but basically these are what you're going to be feeling. This comes up higher, and then there's some serratus muscles and different things there. So when you're working then, and you're wanting to get into the trapezius, some of the things that you see when I'm on one side because of the spine, you'll see that I start down here oftentimes and work up. That's because I'm getting along the entire trapezius muscle along the spine. And then you follow in the direction I'm working down, I'm working over into the direction of the way that the trapezius is running, and working up that way and opening up and going in such directions like that. Down here, working here where it's attaching into the hip. Okay, it's all attaching into the hip. It's working up through here, tucks itself under there. So all of this, you're kind of getting a separate muscle area when you're working through here. So that's the different things that we do when you're working on somebody. You want to distinguish the different muscle groups and get these superficial muscles that you can palpate well worked. And by doing that, you can just look at an anatomy book, just the very surface muscles, and you can start to follow it. But on the body, it's looking something like this, in sort of. And then, of course, the spine running there. You don't want to really palpate the spine. The vertebrae is all along here. Of course, everybody knows that, and I'm running out of that. The vertebrae, and then the muscles in between the vertebrae. When you're palpating in between, you're going to go between each of the little vertebrae structures and work that way. And then when you get up in here where the trapezius starts, you can push it aside and give a little stretch along the trapezius where the trapezius is and open that up. You want to know where these muscles are, where the superficial muscles are, because it changes a little bit as you get off of the trapezius. It feels different. It's a little bit tougher structure because there's so much more support that's happening in the lower back. And then, of course, the sweeping action goes primarily across this big latissimus dorsi area, and the rib cage is coming down here. Now we have ribs, 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 going this way. So when you take the ribs and you're going between the ribs, you're going to follow the rib line and going in between the structures of the ribs. So that should give you a little bit more of an understanding what you're dealing with underneath. Here's the scapula edge here. When you pick up the scapula, you can see how that is. There's attachments into the scapula from the muscles superficially and underneath, and then you're able to just go underneath. Knowing where these attachments are and what you're feeling. It's also helpful because if there's a tight muscle, you'll be able to figure out what's happening, if it's the attachment, if it's attachment more superficially, if it's something deeper. So it's just a way, the landmarks are important, and the understanding of where these structures are will help you to do a little bit more thorough and efficient work in your practice or in helping your friends and neighbors. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for subscribing. And I think there's a little bell up there that you can hit that you'll get a notification every time we post. So if you want to, you can hit that too. But thank you so much for your support. I really appreciate it.